The Hulk television show, I thought, was wonderful. It was created and done by Kenneth Johnson, who I think did a brilliant job. He was so smart. He took a character which, in live-action television, might have been unbearably foolish-looking, with nonsensical stories, and he made it as palatable for grown-ups as for kids, maybe more so. It was an hour show, and in the course of the hour, you only actually saw the Hulk for, I don't know, 5 or 6 minutes, maybe not that much. The rest of the time, it was Bruce Banner, played by Bill Bixby as a very human, empathetic character that you cared about. So it was really an adult show about an interesting, complex hero with a lot of personal problems.
When Universal first came to me with the idea of doing one of the Marvel Comics superheroes, Frank Price called me and said, "We've just acquired the rights to 5 of them. Which one would you like to do?" And I said, "Gee, none of them, Frank. I just don't connect to people in spandex and primary colors." And my wife, Susie, had given me a book, and I was in the middle of reading it. And this is Victor Hugo's Les Miserables. The story of Jean Valjean being pursued by Inspector Javert and living life as a fugitive.
I'm Jack McGee from the National Register. I'm checking some stories that a huge hulking creature was seen in this area.
So I had all of that sort of Victor Hugo story in my head, and I realized, well, there was a way to take a little bit of Victor Hugo, a little bit of Robert Louis Stevenson, and this ludicrous thing called The Incredible Hulk, and turn it into a serious psychological adult drama. I wanted it to not be comic booky in any way. One of the first things I did was change David Banner's name from Bruce Banner. Why? Because the Bruce Banner thing is like Lois Lane, Peter Parker. It's all alliterative. It all harkens back to comic book roots. And I was trying to do everything I could to get the show away from comic book roots and that kind of feeling. The show had to live in the real world. There was a title card that I put at the beginning of the pilot of The Incredible Hulk, which said something to the effect of, "Within each of us oft-times dwells a mighty and raging fury." And I think that that's something that everyone has felt at one time or another, that sense of just wanting to explode. There's a visceral connection that people have to that feeling of anger.
The show was about a man with a condition that was out of his control. We use the word duality a lot. The duality of a brilliant doctor scientist who has the worst kind of a monkey on his back. It's not drug addiction. It's not alcoholism. It was all about David's inner demon.
Hello, I'm Bill Bixby.
I was very anxious to cast exactly the right person in the leading role. I needed someone who would bring an adult following to it, who was a serious actor, and who would not be thought of as being in something that was anything other than first class. And Bill Bixby was my first and only choice. We sent him the script. His agent gave it to him. Bill said, "What, are you crazy? I'm not going to read anything called The Hulk." And his agent said, "Read it." And Bix read it and called me the next day and came over and said, "Is this what we're going to do?" I mean, Bill was always very intense, right in your face all the time. Oh. And he says, "Yeah, are we really going to do this? Is it going to be this drama? Is it going to be like this excitement, this real human stuff?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Not going to be all comic booky." I said, No. Bix says, "This is what I want to do." And he said, "Will you stay with it for as long as I stay with it?" And I agreed to be part of the show as long as he was part of the show. And indeed, we were pals from then on.
Bill Bixby is the only actor I can think of who could have pulled it off. And I think a lot of it, besides his talent, was his credibility with the audience. They knew that he wasn't going to take them somewhere that would make them foolish.
And the Hulk is not evil. He is rage manifested in a physical form, only focused on what made him angry to begin with. But once he has solved that problem, he's a fish out of water. He is lost, helpless as a child, wandering around trying to find out. He has no idea how he got here or why he is here.
I saw him walking down the hall toward me with those white eyes in. That was the key moment when I really knew that we really had something, because seeing Bill Bixby with that altered persona, I knew was just going to reach out and grab an audience by the throat and not let go of them. I was looking for somebody to play the Hulk. We talked to Arnold Schwarzenegger. He was busy doing Conan at the time, and he suggested we talk to Louis Ferrigno. And I met with Louis, and he was a very sweet guy, had absolutely no acting experience at all. You know, and I was concerned about being able to make that happen. So I sort of kept Lou in my hip pocket, but I decided to try to go with Richard Kiel, who later on would play Jaws in the James Bond movie. Dick is is 7'5", is massive, and is an actor. And we actually filmed a week with Dick, but as we sat in the dailies, more and more it just became apparent that this was not the right image for the Hulk. Back to Lou, and I brought him in and we did some improvisation stuff together to try to see if I could get a performance out of him. And he did okay. Not great, but okay. But Louis was an impassioned guy that I felt had the inside stuff to make it happen. I mean, here was a kid that had made himself into this, hugely amazing muscle man. And I got to thinking, well, if he's got the inner strength and fortitude and passion to do that, then I bet I can make this work.
It was such a good show. Ken did everything right. When Banner turned into the Hulk, people who saw the show still remember there'd be a shot of his eyes would suddenly start changing color. Then you'd see the shirt starting to rip off his shoulder as the shoulder got bigger. For some reason, women have told me they love that shot. We can't wait to see where the shirt rips and the shoulder gets bigger.
The demographics were interesting. Our largest audience was adult women, and then adult men, and then teens, and lastly, kids. And it wasn't because I set out to pander to a female audience. It was just, that's the way we wrote the show. Sure, the young kids sometimes would tune in to see the big green guy crash through the wall, but what happened was very quickly the adults in the household saw, wait a minute, there's something else going on here. This is a real drama. This is a little morality play. This is a character that I want to know more about and be involved with.
Doctor, this research that you're doing, everybody would like to know how to tap into their hidden strengths.
David, there's something here. There's an abnormal concentration of the adenine-thymine combination.
Elena, we may have found it.
Here are some scenes from the next episode of The Incredible Hulk.
Big Hulk, pretty mean looking.
We have no authoritative proof that those footprints are real, and we do not want to start a panic around here.
We have to try and make it happen again so that we can observe it.
I know you have feelings of enormous strength.
A story of speed and sabotage.
Gas and that car leaks.
We gotta stop the race.
Bill Bixby stars in The Incredible Hulk.
Is this where you filmed The Incredible Hulk?
Yeah.
I'm Fred Rogers.
Hi, I'm Mark Burley.
Glad to know you, Mark. And this is Mr. McFeely.
Hello, Mr. McFeely. Pleased to meet you. Come on in. Bill's waiting for you.
Thank you. You go ahead, Mr. McFeely. Mr. Bixby, I'm Fred Rogers.
Oh, Mr. Rogers, how nice to see you.
So glad you'd let us
McFeely.
come. You know Mr. McFeely?
Yes, I do. I watch the show all the time. Very nice to have you here.
Is it okay if I take some movies?
Oh, please do. Take anything you would like.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, you know, I wanted to show my television neighbors about your kind of pretend.
Oh, I would be happy to show our make-believe to them. It's not quite as glamorous as most people think. As you can see, Lou Ferrigno, who plays the Incredible Hulk. I am not the Incredible Hulk, of course. We are two different people. And through the use of makeup and green makeup on Lou and the wide eyes and everything, it looks as if I become the Incredible
That you
Hulk.
turn into.
That's right, like I change into him. But of course, that's just make-believe, and that's the magic of motion pictures.
Well, you're a real person with a real family yourself,
Oh,
aren't
yes,
you?
I am. I have a son, 5 years old, Christopher Sean, and he is just beginning to realize the difference between the make-believe part of the Incredible Hulk that I do, and the reality, which is that I am his real daddy who really comes home at night, and I don't really turn in to the Incredible Hulk.
Lou? Excuse me, Richard. Lou, could I introduce you here to,
Let the actors get out
I'd like you to meet Mr. Rogers, Lou
Hi,
Ferrigno,
Lou.
Incredible Hulk, Mr. McFeely.
How do you do?
Yes, it looked real to us. We thought it really broke here for a moment that you were going to go down with it.
Were you scared to do that?
Not really. You want a good quality show, you gotta give them the best performance.
You give the best performance.
And we're also surrounded by many professional people who keep us from having to be really afraid because we know that they know what they're doing.
Of course.
Now there's Lou Ferrigno getting in the makeup chair.
He is a very muscular man.
Yes, he is. Now, oh, here's Norman, the makeup person.
Oh, yes.
He helps with the makeup. Paste on. No, this is called spirit gum. It's a special type of glue that holds on the forehead, the rubber forehead. You'll see that in a moment. There it is.
Special forehead.
Right there, he's putting it on.
Wonder why they do that.
There, now here, this goes on the nose, some glue on the nose, and a special rubber nose. It makes him look like the Hulk. Now the next step is the green makeup.
Oh my, yes.
Now this goes all over his face and all over his body. And as you can see, the makeup is shiny.
Yes.
So what they have to do is put a powder on it. They powder it. There's the powder. And it takes the shine away. It does. It takes about 2 hours to do this. Now you'll see Lou Ferrigno as the Incredible Hulk getting ready to make one of the programs.
And he keeps that on the whole time that he's making the program?
That's right. It takes about 12 hours. Now, this is about 12 hours later after a long day. And here comes the wig. It's coming off. Now he takes the forehead off and just pulls it right off.
Does that hurt?
Well, it looks like it does, but he's just glad to get it off.
I would imagine so.
That's the forehead. He says, woo!
Yes.
And here comes the nose.
That's all part of his work.
All part.
The Incredible Hulk is elastic.
I can beat that.
You can tie him in a tangle, then see how he unwrangles. You can stretch the legs and arms, it won't do any harm.
Watch this.
He's a flexible superhero, Hulk.
The Incredible Hulk, part of the Elastic Superhero Collection by Mego. The Incredible Hulk meets Spider-Man. Each figure a foot tall and fully posable.
All you need is a piece of string, and here comes Spider-Man.
Avalanche! This is a job for the Hulk.
The Incredible Hulk with a face that's mean, lots of muscle and skin that's green. Superhero Hulk.
Good job, handsome.
The Incredible Hulk.
This is the Hulk. You can place the Hulk into the Rage Cage. With a few pumps of the Hulk inflator, you can make the Hulk grow in size. Rip out of the shirt. And break out of the Rage Cage.
Hot Wheels line for $79. And this Hot Wheels van is hot looking inside, too. There's a picture like this inside the Incredible Hulk Scene Machines van. You can buy it in specially marked packages with these 3 Hot Wheels.
Let me see the Hulk. Look up there. It's the Hulk. Helps you from Kid Power. Racetrack.
With Colorform's Incredible Hulk Adventure Set,
I'll be the Incredible Hulk.
you can pretend lots of things. Like the Hulk is battling his archenemy Rhino, or using his incredible strength against the Abomination, or single-handedly capturing a gang of evildoers. You can pretend lots of exciting adventures with your imagination and Colorform's Incredible Hulk.
I was very lucky to have a wonderful writing staff working with me. Jim Perriott was my producer on the first season of The Hulk, and then Nick Correa and Jim Hirsch after that. And then two ladies who wrote their very first script for anybody on The Hulk, Karen Harris and Jill Sherman.
I was working as an associate producer in public television and on a PA and freelancing, and also typing scripts for $5 an hour in between my freelance assignments to pay the rent. Jill was working as a journalist. She also reviewed movies.
Karen knew someone at Universal, and we got an interview with Ken Johnson as they were looking for new blood, and we were green new blood, and Ken was nice enough to give us a shot.
So we wrote The Beast Within as our very first paid-for script. It was our entree to writing. It was the door that opened.
It was a wonderful opportunity to see a writer grow and help the show grow and bring new ideas to us.
He wouldn't say it's not good. He never insulted us that way. But he would say, this could be better. This doesn't make sense. This doesn't track for my character. What am I feeling here? What am I supposed to, what can you give me on the page that I can translate onto the screen? So he was very good that way. And sometimes we'd get annoyed and he's making us work harder. But he was right, ultimately. He kept that point of view.
I wanted to hit him over the head at the moment, but he made a writer out of me.
Lou began to get the bug of he wanted to do a speaking role. The challenge with Lou was that he was mostly deaf. I mean, he was hard of hearing, but it was beyond hard of hearing. It was a condition from childhood. It was obvious that the way to best serve him so that he could come off as good as possible was to make the role as close to his own life. I wrote King of the Beach, and it was very, very satisfying for me because I knew that I was touching something important to him. He came in to me after he'd read the script, and he was in tears, and he said, "It's like you're inside my head." There was a scene in a locker room where he talks to David Banner.
If I go through with the competition, South Diamond will own me.
But only as a professional bodybuilder.
It was really lovely, and I'm very, very proud of it, and I was proud of him.
Have you considered using a female Hulk on your show?
I've considered it.
And that's as far as it went?
That's as far as it went, right. Because a female Hulk would be bigger than I.
Oh, Billy.
Bix had gone through a very, very difficult divorce from Brenda Binet. So there was a lot of angst going on, personal angst. They had had such antagonism toward each other during the divorce times. It was funny, you could see the Hulk coming out of Bix, this anger that he felt toward Brenda during the divorce was very much on his sleeve, and you could really feel it.
Bill wanted to, it's okay if I say this, right, Bix? Wanted a show so his son could see that his mom and dad, even though they were going through a divorce, could get along. So he wanted us to write a show for Brenda Binet. And I came up with The Psychic, which was the first show that I wrote on my own, and was about a woman who could read minds and was thinking about suicide because a young boy had died that she couldn't save.
Season 4 came the real tragedy when Bix's 6-year-old son, Christopher, died unexpectedly.
And then Brenda killed herself out of guilt, and that one was such a glaring, bizarre set of circumstances that everything else pales in memory.
Goodbye, David.
You be good to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It was interesting because after the death of Christopher and then the death of Brenda, that anger, of course, was sort of dissipated. And yet still, Bix was such a consummate actor that he could always go to wherever he needed to get to. The cancellation of the show did come as a surprise. There was a fellow named Harvey Shepard who ran CBS for about 20 minutes, but in that 20 minutes, Harvey decided that the Hulk was getting tired. I don't know why he decided that, because the ratings were still good. We had 7 shows in the can that we had not yet aired, and I said, Harvey, buy 6 more and you'll have a half a season, and that's 13 episodes. You'll really give it a run. Let's see. And I said, besides, I got a great idea for opening the 5th season. I said, I want to do a show where David Banner's sister, whom we had set up in one of the earlier episodes, is dying of a congenital blood disease, and the only thing that can save her is a transfusion from a sibling. Now, what happens when Hulk blood gets into somebody else? And I said, and I'm telling you, America will tune in droves. And no, he didn't think that was going to do much of anything. I was also frustrated because it didn't give us the opportunity to bring the show to a conclusion, which so many people write me about and have asked me about over the years. What would you have done? And there was no final show written. The lost episode does not exist anywhere. There was certainly an idea in my head to bring the series to a satisfactory psychological conclusion for the character of Dr. David Banner. It was important for me that he got to the end of his quest, that he found a cure, essentially. And unfortunately, because we were just summarily shuffled off, we never had the chance to do that final episode, which I think was a shame in a lot of ways.
Bill Bixby has that funny look in his eyes again. If these guys were smart, they wouldn't make him mad. It's been 6 years since the Hulk flexed his awesome green body, and backed by popular demand, the Hulk returns this Sunday night in a made-for-TV movie.
Well, you're going to see the Hulk that you've seen before, except that we are adding another superhero. The idea at New World was to make a series of movies of the Incredible Hulk, but to include, since they own Marvel Comics, of which the Hulk is one, a different superhero in each movie. And that's the idea. The first one, of course, will be the mighty Thor.
Answer the question! David, you must answer the question!
Bill Bixby as Banner and Lou Ferrigno as Hulk have reached the end.
As we see, the Hulk dies, and of course David Banner dies. Like, it gives me goose pimples talking about it.
It was a determined and forceful Bill Bixby who sat down with E.T. in January of 1993 to talk candidly about the prostate cancer that was spreading throughout his body. Cancer, which first began in Bill's prostate, quickly spread to his hips and then to his spine. He underwent surgery and started course after course of chemotherapy. All the while, he continued to work, directing several episodes of the sitcom Blossoms. His weight dropped to barely 130 pounds.
Cancer that existed in my bladder in the beginning has now completely disappeared. But the liver and the hot spots in the bones are still around. I'll take it one at a time. I'll take anything I can get, as a matter of fact.
When E.T. visited again with Bill just 9 months after our first sit-down, it was clearly apparent that his cancer had progressed. Faced with his own mortality, Bill made a conscious decision on how he was going to live.
It's a matter of perception. I know that some people who have been told they have cancer quit. When the C word hits their mind, they simply stop. They cease to live and give themselves to dying. That's not my intention. You come and get me, and you drag me away, but I'm not going to contribute to my own death.
For his own legacy, Bill Bixby remained gracious to the very end.
I would hope that I have left behind something that would leave goodwill. And then my life will have been worth something.
Robert Downey Jr., as amazing as he is always going to be Iron Man. Like that, sometimes you get one of those roles. You flirted with that.
It depends on, and I think it depends on how many of them you do.
But when you did the Hulk, were you worried about that?
A little bit. I loved those like comics, and I subscribed to them.
Yeah,
I subscribed to Hulk. I loved the Bill Bixby Hulk. Yeah, like he's it for me. He's always for anyone our age. Like he's know him walking away at the end of the show.
Yeah,
that's it. But Hulk is like the it's Prometheus, right? The guy who steals fire from the gods for people, but he gets burned doing it and is cursed, right? He's trying to take like the power of nature back out to people from the gods, and he gets burned. And that's how I thought about it. I was like, if we could do something like that leans into this guy who thinks he's going for something good that's going to help humanity, and he cracks open like the backside of God and takes something out that is not meant to be taken out, and now he's cursed. Like cursed. That's what was amazing. Even as silly as the show was on some levels, Bill Bixby was cursed. Yeah. Like that's what, and the end of every show you were like, oh my God, he's still cursed, like alone in the world and cursed, right? And there's something pretty heavy in that, like pretty cool in that. And so it wasn't I thought it was like really worth a crack.
Will we ever see a time when comic book movies are not just grabbed up and embraced by audiences?
I don't think so. As long as they make them well, it's like anything else. If you do it right, people are going to enjoy it, whether it's a comic book movie or based on a novel or an original story. And if you don't do it right, forget it.
Mark was my first wish. Like I made a very short list, and Mark was at the head of it. He was the guy I wanted, and I think we want a completely fresh take on this, and I think I know the guy for it. And they're like, well, we're not sure unless it's Mark Ruffalo. We don't even know if. And I'm like, what? I just froze. I was like, you got to be kidding! You did not just say that. And then I showed them my list that I had in my wallet, a little piece of paper. So after Robert, he's probably the person I spent the most time with before shooting, which is Annie, and. Just talking about anger and how it manifests and different kinds, and so that we could get the Hulk away from being this roaring creature.
I talked a lot to Josh Whedon, my director, and I think we want him to be kind of an everyman, not so dour, probably a little more charming or accessible. And I don't know. We're still sort of working it out with the script, so I'm not exactly sure what it's going to end up being. But we've talked quite a bit about kind of the Bill Bixby version of the Hulk, of Bruce Banner. I wouldn't want to put Bill Bixby out of my mind. They all have done really cool, interesting things with him, and hopefully I'll have something to add to the mix that doesn't bore the crap out of everybody.
Dr. Banner, now might be a really good time for you to get angry.
That's my secret, Captain. I'm always angry.
But we get to see you again, in Thor.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
I mean,
Yeah.
you're here.
That's not bad. You're
Me
here.
and Thor.
And you're here.
And where's everybody else in that one?
Yeah.
But you're still angry. I mean, you haven't gotten over that whole.
I know he's even more angry than he was the last time we saw him for a much longer period of time.
Right.
Mhm.
But Thor is so happy to see you, but you.
Smash him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's up with that?
It's fun. It's just fun.
It is fun, right?
It's fun smashing him. He's just a puny god.
What are you, crazy? Yes! You know what? Earth does hate you.
Well, what's really fun about this show is that, you know, in the Marvel movies, we get to see a lot of high-stakes events. You know, the universe is going to end. Everyone in existence is going to go away. But what happens in between those events? What happens on a regular Tuesday when you just have to do laundry? That's really kind of the slice of life that this show kind of explores. This is the show of legal paperwork, which we knew is what the MCU fans were screaming for.
I am beyond excited for the show. This might be my most anticipated Marvel Disney Plus series since these were all announced. I mean, I was so interested and intrigued by WandaVision, stoked about What If, moving into the world of animation, but She-Hulk is such like a pivotal Marvel character for me.
Be aggressive. I'm going to be confident. That's what I love about She-Hulk.
So I'm clearly nailing it at all of these things.
What do you think people are going to love most about Jennifer and what she kind of brings to the table?
She sort of shirks all of the superhero-ness and isn't awesome by any stretch. You know, she's very human and very flawed and kind of in denial that this thing has happened to her. And I think that's a very relatable, you know, in for people. And she's also like, yeah, she's not, I don't know, she's just not in any way the slick kind of strong female that we're conditioned to like want to see in these movies. Yeah. She just really bucks the stereotype.
You do a standalone Hulk movie? Like, what does your future in the Marvel Universe look like?
I don't know. Whatever they have an appetite and, you know, people want. You know, I'm around.
How does it feel to pass the Hulk banner down?
The Hulk banner.
Get it?
I like that.
It writes itself.
It's amazing.
What was it like? Yeah, what was it like?
Oh my God, we had the best time.
Yeah, we had so much fun.
And she's the best. I couldn't be happier passing the Hulk banner.
I feel like those mocap suits and us just like playing felt like two kids in pajamas. Like, and it was just really, it really was like so free and like despite all of these technical, you know, demands, it was really so much fun.
Always the plan to have toxic fandom as the season's villain. And can you talk to me about the irony of seeing that play out in the real world, knowing that it was the big bad of the season?
If something could be a combination of these two, it was both delicious and sad. You know, we started writing the show 3 years ago. Like, that's how long ago this all was. And the fact that we were able to very accurately every single time predict exactly what the toxic reaction was going to be, like, it's both sad, but also goes to show like how like tired and unoriginal these guys are, you know, that 3 years ago I could tell you what you were going to say because you're just that predictable and boring.
This is unbelievable. You take one of the most beloved Marvel characters, put him in a series just to say F you to people that criticize your show? From the showrunner, Jessica Gao. Our writer's room opened 3 years ago. The fact that we were able to predict what the reaction was going to be, what a lot of the trolling comments were going to be, really shows how very tired and unoriginal these trolls are. That really tickled me because the little troll that lives inside of me really loves trolling the trolls. You're telling me you wasted money, time, and an amazing Marvel character just to write a show about trolls because somewhere along the line your feelings got hurt.
The fact that she almost murders these guys, it never talked about ever again. She suffers no consequence. She learns nothing from it. So the tone of the show is that Jen is angry, men are bad. The thing is, the writers only give us two really thin examples as to why men are bad. What is happening is the writers are activists, and they brought a worldview to the show that they assume you share. And they're showing you men and going, look, these are bad, obviously, right? You guys can see that? Great, just because they're men? Cool, let's move on. So the writers are telling you different things from what they're showing you, but they also just created a character that sucks.
I love She-Hulk. As a kid, you know, I used to watch She-Hulk, the cartoon version. So when it came out, I was like, okay, I have to check this out. I have to see it. And I saw the reviews were bad, but I was like, okay, let me see it for myself in case some people are overreacting. Because I do think that in the same way that there is a very annoying woke culture, there is also an annoying culture where people just hate on everything that they perceive as woke just because they perceive it as woke. So there was a part of me that was kind of like, okay, do you know what? Maybe people might be overreacting to this and it's just like a reactionary thing. And then I watched it. And then I understood. Disney ruined She-Hulk, is all I can really say, okay?
Being a Hulk asks for balance.
Okay. I mean, like, what was that? Y'all think I'm a hater, y'all think I hate everything Marvel, but it's just like, what are they doing with Hulk's character? It's not a problem with the actor, it's not a problem with Mark Ruffalo. It's just a problem of Marvel and Disney trying to desensitize the Hulk. I get you want to make him more likable so like kids can watch him more, but you're just ruining the Hulk in every serious way possible. I don't know how any real Marvel fan likes this. And yes, he does have good moments like in Endgame and Avengers 1, but overall it's just bad and I don't know how they're going to bring it back to Hulk.
Ken Johnson had a philosophy from day one that we should always never speak down to the audience, never write down to the audience, never think that you're writing a comic book. Write drama, write real stories, write real people. And that was the basis for the show, and those were our marching orders.
You know, you've tackled some pretty tough subjects. Alcoholism for one, mentally retarded, child beating, hijacking. Mm-hmm. Can you adequately deal with that in an hour?
Oh, I don't think that we've been able to adequately deal with it within the last 10 years of our country's history. As a matter of fact, it seems to have grown in its proportions. So, no, all we can do is try and point a finger at the problem, hope some people will see it in themselves, or see the problem potentially, and hopefully do something about it before they hurt another human being.
So you're really just presenting the material. And
that's what drama is really, and television is really meant to entertain. If you can introduce a message to it, all we're designing, hopefully there, is to provoke a question in the mind of the audience, but the answer lies in the audience itself.